So I think it's only fair that we, right, so it's only fair that we complete the square. Now I'm going to write one of the questions that would have been 4a, right? So let me write it. So 4a would have been 16 plus 8x minus 35 x squared, right? Now if we're going to complete the square, we'll have to write it a different way. So we'll have to do this, right? So we'll have to do this instead, right? So we will have to literally do this. Yeah? So let's focus on that. Okay, so what are we going to do now? So I'm going to lay down the skeleton. So let's see if we can do that. So we will have a bracket here. Oh, wow, hold on. I might need a lot of space for this. Oh my God, I forgot how much space I'm going to need. Yeah. Let's hope I can actually pull this off, right? Let's hope I can. Let's really hope I can pull this off. Yeah? Alright. The minus 35 is going to be placed out here, right? So, yeah, this, what you call it? Hold on. Let me try and make an adjustment here. Okay. So let's hope that this gives me more space to do everything, right? Alright, so I'm going to put some things in color, right? So we'll put a minus 35 out here. Yeah? You can barely see the minus. You know what? Let me try this again. Hold on here. Okay. Alright. So good. We have the minus 35 right there and the plus 16 there. Alright, good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to divide this portion here. Right? Everything except that plus 16, we're going to divide this by what is out here. Right? So if we divide minus 35x squared by minus 35, we'll get x squared. So we're going to put that in here. If we divide plus 8x by minus 35, we'll get minus 8x over 35. Right? Now, we're going to have plus blank squared. Now we have a plus blank squared. We're going to have a minus blank squared as well, right? But also, since this is multiplied by minus 35, that will also be multiplied by minus 35. Okay. Alright, so now this is a lot more like what we should be seeing, right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this and multiply it by 1 over 2. So 8x, well, ignore the x part. Forget the x. So we're going to have 8 over 35 times 2. So this will be 8 over 70 in the bracket, right? So what is in the bracket right here goes in the bracket right here. Yeah? So we're on the right track now, right? So there's obviously a lot of steps that I'm going to go over, right? This minus and minus will cancel, so we can literally turn them into positive signs. And we're going to skip ahead, right? So we're going to square root this, square root that. So this is going to be called x minus 8 over 70 all squared. So we're going to put that right here. So this will now be called x minus 8 over 70 all squared. right? Yeah? And of course, I will give a further explanation as to why this happened. But to put a long story short, if you add 8 plus 8, you'll get 16, right? 16 over 70, if you divide 16 over 70 by 2 over 2, then it will be reduced to that right here. So 16 divided by 2 will give you that. 70 divided by 2 will give you this. And that is why we can easily factorize it like this. If we were to expand this, we'll end up with x squared minus 16x over 70 plus 8 over 70 all squared. So that's why we can actually do that. Yeah? Now this side is a little messier, right? Long story short, this will be squared, so you'll have 8 squared on top, and this will be multiplied by 2. So this will be 8 squared over this multiplied by 2, right? So you're going to end up with 70 times 2, or 70 plus 70, 140. So the result of this, multiplying 35, wait, hold on. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, as I was saying, we square the top and then we take the denominator and add it to itself or multiply it by 2, right? That's going to be the outcome of 8 over 70 all squared multiplied by 35, right? There's a breakdown of how I can explain that, but I'll do that in a separate video from this one, right? Now, we'll have to multiply 140 over 140 by 16 to change this into a fraction, right? Okay, so now both of these can share the same denominator, so we can switch to that. Yeah, something like that. So now let us put them together now. Now there is also something interesting that I want us to look at. Now, the number 2304 is larger than 1600 but smaller than 2000 sorry, smaller than 16, dear God, smaller than 2500, larger than 1600. Where I get those numbers from? 40 times 40 and 50 times 50. So therefore 2304 is in between the square of 40 and the square of 50, right? That's really what I'm trying to say. That means we have to find something that ends with 4, right? What two numbers can you multiply that are squares that usually end with 4? I mean, sure, it could be something that ends with 2 times something that ends with 2, but that might be too small, right? Because, 42 times 42 might not give us this, right? So that's the game you have to play in figuring out what kind of square we actually have here, right? So the guess that I use is that because 2304 is so close to 2500, it has to be closer to the number 50. So I'm going to dial it back. So 49 times 49, no, that's going to end with a 1 at the end. So I'm going to use 48 times 48. So let's see how that goes. Now, what is the result of 50 minus 2 times 50 minus 2? 50 minus 2 is a substitution for the number 48. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so 2500 minus 200 is 2300 plus 4. And therefore, 48 squared is the result of, 2304 is the result of 48 squared, right? So yes, that's how we estimate our squares. Now all of that is a necessary evil. Now to make our life simpler, we'll subtract this fraction from the left and from the right. Or you can just take the equal sign, put it in front of this so that this now becomes negative. Right? So this will become equal to the negative version of that. Yeah? Now here's another fun fact. Imagine that this is A, this is 2A, and this is 4A, right? Now, if you were to square 2A, you'd get 4A squared. But 4A times A is also 2a all squared, which basically means when you square this, whatever number this is, if you were to multiply this by this, you'll end up with the same number. So 70 times 70 is the same as 35 times 140. So this is 4,900. This times this is also 4,900. Right? Alright, let me apologize. I'm just trying to adjust. Right, this way we have an idea of what's on that side over there. Right? So both sides are being multiplied by minus 1 over 35. Right? And as I said before, 35 times 70, wrong thing, sorry. 70 times 70 is 4,900. 35 times 140 is also 4,900. Something like that. Something like that. Yeah, I know, something like that. Oh, right, I forgot. Okay, so I forgot to rub out the negative sign over here. Yeah, because when you multiply a minus by a minus, you get plus. So this should actually be a plus, right? Yeah, so let me apologize for that oversight. Yeah, so when you multiply 2,304, or rather the minus 203, you know what I mean, right? Meaning when you have this, right, minus 2,304 over 140, and you multiply it by minus 1 over 35, right, even though that's incredibly small, yeah, the minuses cancel, giving you a plus sign right there. So yeah, my screenshots obviously need to be yeah, I need to be careful with the screenshot right there. Yeah, so the 35 times 140 is 4,900. Minus 2,304 times minus 1 is a plus 2,304, right? Now let's square root both sides, right? We're going to square root both sides. So we will have a square root over this here, and a square root over this right here. Yeah? So let us see what happens after that. Okay, so we're closer to the promised land, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add 8 over 70 to both sides. So therefore, we're going to have plus or minus 48 plus 8 over 70. Since they have the same denominator, we'll just skip to that. Okay, so what we really have is a plus 48 or a minus 48. So we need to focus on that. Yeah, so that way we know exactly what we're working with. Alright, so this looks a lot more like what we really wanted to have, right? So we'll have a minus 40 on the left and a plus 56 on the right. At least for the numerators. Now, I would like to say that's it. However, as you know, we have prime numbers and we can reduce these to its lowest terms. Now with the left, it's a little easier. All we need to do is this. Cross out that 0 and that 0 right here. So that's going to be minus 4 over 7 on the left. And on the right, well, we know both of them have 7 in common. So you have 7 times 2 times 5 as the denominator. And then you have, oh, see, that you would almost think that the HCF of that is actually 7. But in reality, let me show you what is happening. So in reality, the HCF of 56 and 70 is actually going to be, it's going to be 14. It's going to be 14. So now it's going to be 4 over 5 on the right. And there we have the finishing touch. Right? So those are the results. Those are the results.